Grace Auburn family, we are back today on the Grace Auburn podcast, continuing in our series, Why Would You Want to Work for a Church? Today, I'm joined by Brooke Silver on our team. Welcome, Brooke, to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so this series, really over the last several years now, has served as, it really serves two purposes. One, a means of introduction of you, specifically to folks who don't know you, maybe families with young kids. They don't have folks in student ministry yet, although they would have probably met you in Grace Kids at some point. Or maybe they're just new to the church and they don't have any connection to you yet. And I think that will be increasingly true of people as we move into Skyway and as the church continues to grow. And so while this serves as your way of sharing your story, introducing yourself, sharing your journey into vocational ministry, it really serves also to invite someone to pull up a chair and say, hey, I'd love to get to know her. I'd love to hear her story. So I like to think of this as a conversation around coffee, even though I have coffee, you don't have coffee, and the person listening to this might not have coffee. That kind of vibe is what we're going for. That's the hope of this conversation. So I'd love for you to start really wherever you want to in terms of your journey into Grace Auburn. That can go back, given that your number of years following Jesus has not been as long as someone like me, in terms of decades on now. It could be all the way back to middle school, high school, wherever you want to kind of begin your journey into vocational ministry, because that's where we're going to land. But I want to start with your story, salvation, testimony, the goodness of God to redeem you. So wherever you want to jump in, I'll ask questions along the way, and we'll see where the Lord leads.
Let's see. I have always known about the Lord. My family are Christians, and we were really involved in our church and went to, I guess, really where, the rubber meets the road is I went to a private Christian school. And that was an amazing thing for me in my life. And they taught me all sorts of things about theology and the Bible. And it was a huge blessing to me as a child to have that knowledge. But as I got older, probably like middle school, high school, I started to really enjoy learning about theology and reading and pushing myself to grow in that way. But the faith side of things, the actual use of that knowledge was kind of empty. So I was involved in church and even was in leadership roles at my church and at school. And probably when I was 16, it was very evident to me that I was still living a life of sin. And C.S. Lewis has this, well, it's actually a poem. But part of it, I'm going to not quote it verbatim because that would be awesome, but I can't. But it goes like, thoughts are like coins. Let me not trust instead of in thee, but in the thin worn image of thy face. And I had become this kind of coin collector of sorts, and I had all of these facts and lovely thoughts about God, but when the opportunity arose to speak to him and meet with him face to face, that was not something that I ever chose to do. And I could not understand this kind of dichotomy of here's the things that I think and here's the things that I do. And so that life of sin really came over me, and it brought me to the end of myself. And I reached out to friends and women at my church, and I was like, I don't understand. I came to faith and I professed faith in Jesus forever ago. I was baptized when I was 11. And yet my thoughts feel like they're honoring to the Lord, and yet he's not participating in them. And that was very humbling. Yeah. Because honestly, I thought I was hot stuff. And, I was like, I'm reading this, I'm reading St. Augustine in my
all
spare
the things
time.
I'm doing.
Yeah. And it, and yet, my life was full of sin and sadness and anger. And so that kind of really changed the tide on, I think, my spirit. A lot of those thoughts and ideas and a love for learning about the Lord are still present, but they're actually glorifying to him now.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good.
So that was high school. Coming into college, still struggling with a kind of displacement of, we were involved at my church home, but at home, and I'm from Huntsville. But there were some things recently that had happened in my church that made us feel, me and my family, really disconnected from them and disconnected from my family in general. It was a hard time of life, and all my siblings had gone to college. And so, I decided to go to Auburn like the rest of my siblings. And we had always visited Grace Auburn when I came because my brother Blake was here and his wife Rebecca. So this was kind of church home away from home.
Sure.
So coming into college, my first Sunday, I came to Grace Auburn, feeling very sad and overwhelmed in the midst of trusting God with what he had for me, but also struggling to trust him at the same time, choosing a kind of like white knuckled trust, not a like joyful trust.
A true like elder brother versus younger brother in the parable of the lost son.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
why I'm doing these things. Why aren't you doing these things in response? All right,
yes. That question of how does God bring me peace in the midst of the good things I'm doing to glorify him, or the good things I'm trying to do, has been a major theme throughout my high school and college years. So Grace Auburn Church, walked in on my first Sunday. Actually met some of the most influential people of my life that day. I don't know if you know this, but I met my future husband that day.
Yeah.
I met some of my best friends that day.
Okay.
I met Carrie Gleemaker that day.
Is Carrie the hub of all of those friendships? Was that her?
Yes.
How did you meet her? Was it Sunday morning?
So my brother had actually, unbeknownst to me, kind of paved the way for me to Grace Auburn.
God bless Blake.
Yes,
come on.
Yes. He had kind of, I guess, for lack of a better word, hyped me up to a lot of people.
Okay.
But also not exactly like a hype man. He had been like, hey, she's really struggling. She wants friends and she's lonely. And I was like, all right.
She thinks she's a big deal.
Yeah.
But inside, she needs friends.
Yeah. Something I didn't know until I came to Grace was that I had really never experienced a true, deep church community. We did the casual community group every once in a while. We went to church on Sundays. I was at youth group most of the time. But that involvement, that kind of, clapping next to the mic.
No, you're good.
That fusing together of those paths of the church in your life, of literally living life together, that was not present. So Blake paves the way. All these people know about me. I walk in on Sunday morning, like August 22nd or something, freshman year, and people know who I am.
Yeah.
And I was not flattered by that. I was weirded out. I was like, okay, hey. But Rebecca and Blake did a wonderful job of introducing me to people, and immediately were like, you should join Dan and Beth Mason's community group. So I did. And I met Carrie, and Carrie asked to mentor me. It was not the, hey, will you hang out? She was like, hey, you need this. And I think that was my second Sunday.
All right.
So it was really quick. And that was the biggest blessing that I have received during college, is her mentoring of me and pouring out upon me. So that really started my journey into Grace. I was officially here. I, decided to become a member, joined the Masons community group, and all of a sudden felt extremely invested in. Yeah. It's like at times it is this calming, wonderful presence of others, and at times it's like this, barbs of people investing in me. And asking me hard questions. And I needed to be asked hard questions. And that, has been a huge blessing. So Carrie and I, we start hanging out weekly and reading over the Word and considering what my life will be like. And I was an English major. I wasn't going to be a teacher. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do, but I did have a love for ministry. But at that time, it was more nonprofit ministry.
Sure.
So I had volunteered in high school and throughout college. I started freshman year at Women's Hope.
Yeah.
And that is a pregnancy resource center here. And I've always had a passion for caring for mothers, soon-to-be mothers, wishful mothers, or mothers who no longer have their children. That was always a soft place in my heart. So Carrie really pushed me into that. And that became a really big part of freshman year, sophomore year.
Yeah.
And that's really where I thought I would go. So the transition from kind of ministry in a kind of nonprofit sphere to vocational ministry in the church, I don't think there was like a clear transition moment. I was asked to be an intern at Grace, and that was really awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you said earlier when you're praying over this podcast that my yes has been on the table. I had never heard that before until I came here. I had no idea what that meant most of the time I was doing it.
Yeah.
I understood that obedience is just choosing to do something honoring to the Lord, even when you're not really sure about your feelings or surrounding circumstances. And so many times when things have been put in front of me here, it's, would you like to serve for Grace Kids? Would you like to be an intern? Would you like to be an apprentice? Oh, you want to be a resident? You know, that's we
right.
keep putting things in front of me, and then putting that yes on the table really just looked like me saying, I guess so.
Yeah.
I mean, I trust y'all and I trust the Lord, and I have these desires for women's ministry. I don't know how that looks, but I'm willing to say yes.
Yeah. One of the things, I think there's two different, oftentimes there's two different tracks, two different paths sometimes. I think there are people, like I think of Jeff Hollis. Jeff is content in the IT industry at the university, doing all things wizardry when it comes to tech for the College of Engineering. And he and Chelsea land at Trinity Lutheran on a Sunday night. And within months, the Lord flips what he thinks is going to be the rest of his life with this very clear call to pastoral ministry. Then, and that could be, at a youth camp. I think Caleb is a good example of somebody at a very young age knew he wanted to go into ministry. And then there's those of us that just kept finding themselves in a new position after a new position after a new position. My story is not dissimilar in that, and it just feels like you've continued to show up. God has put the right people, namely Beth Mason, Carrie Gleemaker, into your path, who have continued to ask you hard questions, but then also help you see things differently, help you see the world more as it actually is, not as you feel it is. And I think that is abundantly true of your story. I think it's true of my story as well. Even your major, right? Like you come in not knowing what you want to do, although maybe you pick a major because you're proud of all the things you're reading and you like all the things you're reading.
Yeah.
And the reality is now the Lord is sanctifying you in and through that. Of these are still things I enjoy to read, but Lord, thank you that they can be glorifying to you and not to me. And your yes just continued to put you in places and positions as an intern, a resident, and now as our Grace Students Coordinator. That process has kind of evolved and rolled out over the course of your time in college, and now you find yourself preparing for marriage. You find yourself stepping into a ministry role that is really your first step into vocational ministry beyond college. I'd love to know just what you're excited about. We're going to get to the question, why would you want to work for this church, a church in general, but specifically this church? I'd love for you to share. You mentioned women's ministry. I'd love for you to share what you're excited about in terms of really some of the work you did with Carrie as a resident, her being our women's ministry coordinator and director. What does that look like, and how has it evolved? How is that still playing itself out in student ministry? What are you excited about on that front, and what are you hopeful for?
Man.
There's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No. I'm just reflecting on so many great things that have happened I mean, I just graduated 4 weeks ago. Yeah. Almost to the day.
Yeah.
And there have just been so many amazing moments through the Lord working through me here, that I could not have planned. Exactly. Just reflecting on what you just said about choosing your major and not, it's like, I don't really know what I'm doing with this.
Yeah, the Lord did.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And people ask me like, oh, what are you doing? You're going to teach or you're going to do this. I'm like, oh, I'm doing ministry. And they're like, how does that connect? I'm like, it doesn't really, but that's the Lord's plan.
Yeah, that's right.
I used those tools and that was helpful. And there were amazing moments through that. But I could never have charted this path for myself, which is why it's awesome.
Yeah, that's right.
This is not what I picked for myself. And that's what makes it great because there are amazing new surprises and blessings all along the way. So, yeah, one of those was helping Carrie do women's ministry. And I had never done women's ministry before in that way through a church. I had only done it in a pregnancy resource setting. So that looked a lot like trusting that Carrie and God were right. Because Carrie would say, hey, you're going to help lead this women's Bible study. I was like, I barely am a woman. I am 19. Are we sure about that? And she's like, yes. And not giving room for anxiety to take hold and just trusting that all I need is this kind leadership from Grace Auburn that the Lord has provided and his Holy Spirit and the willingness to just let go.
Yes, good.
So started leading Bible studies and helping Carrie and just also pushing myself to invest in people no matter the age difference or different station of life. There's this myth that you can't be friends with people that aren't your same age, and it's very easy to talk to somebody when you take away that barrier. So that was really awesome, and I really enjoyed that, and I got to learn a lot from Carrie about loving other people well and being present for women in circumstances you've never gone through. And that actually helped. At the time, I was still volunteering with Women's Hope, and that helped me immensely with being there for those women who are possibly, having their 5th or 6th child under the age of 30 or something and unable to financially provide for those children. So being able to connect with women who are in need of God's grace just like me, that was an amazing gift that the Lord provided through that. So started doing women's ministry, really thought that was the thing. And at that time, y'all asked me to become an apprentice or a resident, which really was just, hey, consider this is probably it for you. Just maybe this is it. So I was kind of put my yes on the table, which for me was like, okay, that sounds good. A lot of those conversations didn't always look like me coming to y'all and saying, I think I'm going to do this. It was me being on the fence and y'all saying, this is what I see in you.
That's right.
Affirming my gifts. So that's happened over and over again. And that even takes me now to where I'm at as a students coordinator when last year, so I started doing stuff with Grace students, and I had never done students ministry before. I didn't see that as a path for myself. And it was a fun and challenging time. Filled with conversations I had no idea how to navigate, and experiences where I didn't know I'd be doing this. And the whole time continuing to talk to Miss Carrie and have her mentor me and challenge me and lead me with her wisdom from the Lord. And I apparently was talking a lot about students ministry because when y'all approached me and asked if I would be a students coordinator, or at that time, it was resident. The titles are confusing, but I was like, I don't know what they think. Frankly, like maybe I'm just consistently doing. I'm here.
Yeah.
And I just didn't see anything of what y'all saw until Carrie said, "You love that." You enjoy this. This is what you say to me. You say you love spending time with these 6th and 7th grade girls, talking about Ruth. You love spending time with them and playing games, and you love getting to be there for them in those challenging conversations. And that was a big moment of, maybe again, all I need is the Lord to do this job well. And we started to have conversations about how women's ministry and students ministry is just young women's ministry. It's not a complicated, I mean, yes, the leading of the young in the faith is a very, holy thing. It's a very, to cause a young one to stumble is abhorrent to the Lord. And so it is a serious thing, but conversations with y'all on staff and with Carrie and other women and Beth revealed to me that women are women from a young age to an old age.
That's right.
We feel that we struggle with the same feelings. We struggle with the same thoughts and conversations with God. And also, my high school experience taught me a lot that it's a precious time of decisions and choices that you have no idea are guiding your life. My sister likes to use the analogy that we're all barges and every little move takes you in one direction. But if you want to turn around, you're going to get stuck. Like, this is so I think about those young years of my life and young years of these sweet students at Grace. They're making those little decisions and they're forming themselves. And I would love to just care for them and love them through that. And first and foremost, to point them to Scripture.
That's good.
So yeah, that's kind of how that turned into it. And it was just a yes on the table type of thing of, I'm going to joyfully submit to the Lord's plan. And I trust that he's going to close the door or open the door.
That's good. Well, he's open to this one. We're excited. We're excited you're in it. You graduated. You finished your residency, and now you are on the Grace Students team on our staff team here at Grace Auburn Church. And so, as we kind of put a bow on this conversation and bring it full circle, big picture, regardless of title, right? And maybe the Lord has taken you through so many different titles just to remind you that really isn't about the title. Right. It's really about
humbling.
It's really about, Lord, I'm here.
Yeah.
My yes is to you ultimately. And so you're meeting with these young girls. You're part of leading Sunday nights. You're connecting with moms. Your role really is highly, highly, highly relational in terms of the ministry face of it. And so I kind of want to ask you, just in closing, the same question we ask everyone. Why in the world, you could be an English professor. You could be an English teacher at high school. You could do any number of things. You could have continued down the path and highly honored the Lord with the work at Women's Hope. Future, just pointing to, by the way, we are highlighting Women's Hope Ministry. Several of our members have recently done a podcast on what that ministry has meant to them. Ray Hornsby, Addie Beatty on that podcast. We're still working out the schedule of all of that, but just because you mentioned it, I want to point to that one as well. But I want to ask you, if you could do all of those things, English, Women's Hope, any number of things, why in the world would you want to work for this church?
That's it. My first thing that's in my head is, but could I do anything else? That is what I feel like. The Lord has over and over again just opened that door and closed other ones.
Right.
Just made it very obvious of the direction that he wants me to go in. Even though I have a love for these other ministries and paths in life. I remember talking to Bradley, my fiance, when I wasn't sure that I would be students coordinator. I was like, what else would I do?
Right.
At this point in my life, I know that the Lord will provide, but this is the track I'm on from what I can see and from what others can see. But in a more kind of, 1,000 level view, 1,000 feet above view, whatever I'm trying to say. I'm like, wait, that wasn't right. I'm trying to look at it from above.
That's good.
That's what I'm trying to say.
All right,
looking at it from above. When I reflect on the most meaningful moments and people of my entire life, which is only 22 years, but still, take away my family. Almost every single one of those people has been through Grace Auburn. The most impactful and wonderful conversations, and that's not random. That's not an accident.
Right.
That's the Lord's providence. And the fact that, that every single step of being here has been him moving towards me and for me, and before me. There's no other option right now. And that's just been the most common theme through being here, that Grace Auburn, to me, is not about, the people are so nice. That sounds like a lot of what I'm saying, and I do believe that we have lots of nice people, and I love them. But it's the Lord moving through these people. It's their submission to his love and his grace that allows them to pour out into me.
Yeah.
And what gives me the ability to love others. So that's why I want to be a part of the, capital C church. The ministry of loving others is impossible to avoid once you're in it. And even though it's difficult and stretches you in ways you had no idea you needed to be stretched, or is often way more human than people realize, and way more humble than people realize. We have to be humble. It's lovely and it's wonderful, and it reveals these wonderful beauties about God's grace because he is here and we are submitting to that. So I pray that the rest of my life continues to be super involved in ministry, no matter where I am, in the home or at my church, my local church, or in mission, whatever it looks like. That is a thing I don't want to escape. I don't want to get away from the loving of others because he loved us.
On behalf of the Grace Auburn Church family, thank you for listening to the Grace Auburn Church podcast. If you'd like more information about partnering with us and our mission, or ways that you can get connected, please go to our website, graceauburn.church.